I enjoy taking small, carefree trips. When I'm tired, sad, or unlucky in love, I jump in my car alone and head out with no real destination in mind. That being said, I'm still just a run-of-the-mill company employee, so they're only cheap day trips. About the only thing I really splash out on is lunch while I'm out. Then I take a few amateur photos to remember my trip by. I still use my analog camera, which I love to pieces. I just can't find it in me to enjoy digital cameras where you can easily delete what you take. On this particular day, my friend had betrayed me, and so I took a day off work, not really feeling like going in. I drove along the coast from Kanazawa City towards Noto Peninsula. It would be tough to get there and back in a single day, but if I started to feel better on the way, then I could just turn back without going all the way to Okunoto. Summer had ended and the sun's rays softened, so it was perfect weather for a drive. The wind felt nice as well. I opened all the windows and drove along the coast, taking in the sea breeze. I also brought my beloved camera along as well. The coastline of Noto Peninsula is a treasure trove of strange and mysterious rocks and stones, and the magnificent landscape of the Sea of Japan runs in the background. I left home somewhat late, so the highway was crowded. I got off at the Yanaida interchange and then took the Chirihama Beach driveway. Maybe I should visit Ganmon as well. Ganmon was just a short distance away. It's a famous location in Noto, a large cavern worn through from the rough Sea of Japan waves. The magnificent sight makes it a popular tourist spot. It's not like you need an entry ticket to see it, and it's on the sightseeing bus's route, so that makes it a popular site. What should I do? Maybe I should drop by. Let's go. I did drive all that way, so I decided to go check it out. As expected, when I reached the parking lot, there were sightseeing buses everywhere. I parked the car and went down the stairs leading to Ganmon. There were several stalls on the way down, despite the fact it was a weekday. The delicious smell of skewered squid and turban shells cooking just wafted through the air. How about some squid? It's delicious. Yeah, that smell sure did make me want to get some. I decided to hand the man some money. Sir, I'll have some squid. Thank you. That'll be 400 yen for 2 sticks. Eh? I only need 1. Ah, is that so? The man looked strangely over my shoulder, like he was looking at someone who shouldn't be there. Then he frowned and seemed to look between the two of us. Creeped out, I handed the man 200 yen, took the squid and hurried away. There were lots of people at Ganmon, but it was nice. It might be nothing more than a cavern, but seeing such magnificent sights created by nature was always nice. It made me feel stupid for all the things I was worried and upset about. Then, I felt someone's eyes upon me. I couldn't help but feel that someone was watching me. Turn around. Who could it be? Who was looking at me? I turned around and saw a single person looking at me. A lone man was staring at me, a young man with a pale face. He wasn't anyone I knew, as far as I could remember, but something about the situation was odd. What was it? That was it. His clothes. It was still hot, so why was he wearing a coat? It was the end of summer, yeah, but it was still hot. Short sleeves were still enough in the sea breeze. A coat really wasn't suited to this weather. But I couldn't keep staring at the man, so I turned away. I felt his gaze disappear as I walked away, looking at the scenery, and then I lost sight of him too. I took a few photos to remember my visit, and then left. About a 5-minute drive from Ganmon, you can find the Hatago Iwa. You can look at the scenery as you drive along the coastline, but it's better to stop the car, take the time, and enjoy it. Take a look. I did come all this way. I should check it out. I stopped in the simple car park by the side of the road and took in the Hatago Iwa. There were several cars there, despite the fact it was a weekday, and a couple laughed and chatted as they pointed at the rocks. 2 rocks, one large and one small, jutted out of the water and were tied together with thick rope like a bridge. The rocks came with a legend that was written on a nearby sign. It said that long ago, a goddess who wanted to spread the art of textile making was attacked by bandits. She tossed her loom into the sea so that it wouldn't be stolen, and it was that loom that turned into the rocks. What a strong goddess, am I right? At that moment, I got chills. It wasn't the sea breeze. I felt someone's cold gaze on me. Someone was looking at me from behind. Turn around. Who could it be? Who was looking at me? The gaze was clinging to me. When I turned around, someone was staring at me. Who was it? It was a young man that I'd never seen before. His face was pale and he looked unwell. He didn't really fit the scenery around us. But there was something even more odd. What was it? That was it. His clothes. It was still hot and yet he was wearing a coat. He never once took his eyes off me. Suddenly feeling embarrassed, I looked away. Maybe he wasn't looking at me. Maybe he was looking at the rocks behind me. Feeling embarrassed, I took a few photos and returned to the car. A short distance from the Hatago Iwa, there was something else interesting. The longest bench in the world. It's a somewhat unknown place of interest and is apparently even in the Guinness Book of World Records. I did come all this way, so maybe I should drop by. Take a look. I decided to check out the world's longest bench for a change of pace. The bench ran along the beach so that people could watch the sun setting into the Sea of Japan. It was 460 meters in length. Yeah, that would get you in the records. If it was the season for swimming, then there would no doubt be families and couples all over the beach. But the swim season had ended, and being a weekday, there were few people. Not a single person was sitting. I sat down on the bench alone. It was so long I couldn't see the other side, and sitting alone made me feel lonely. I started walking alongside it. As I did, I had a thought. My car was up in the parking lot, so once I reached the end of the bench, then I'd have to walk all the way back as well. A round trip would be nearly 1 kilometer. I stopped to turn back. At that moment, I sensed someone looking at me. Turn around. Who could it be? Who was looking at me? The gaze was clinging to me. When I turned around, someone was staring at me. The gaze was coming from the empty beach not too far away. Someone was standing there. It was him again, the person following me around. There was no way it was a coincidence. If it had just been at Gammon and Hatagaoiwa, then sure. But there was no longer any way to brush this off as a coincidence. I rushed back to the car and started it. I had to get away from him. I had to. He would kill me. I should go home now. Feeling indescribable chills, I decided to go home. For some reason, that man weighed on my mind. Did I really not know him? Remember, was he an acquaintance of mine? An old classmate? A business partner? Someone from the neighborhood? Remember, was he really a complete stranger to me? I couldn't remember. What did he look like again? Oh, it was no good. I couldn't remember his face. What did he look like? Like this?